have Conspiracy FC, and opposition we have self-identifying non-diagnosed. Congratulations. I'm Kazi, I'll be the chair for this round. We have Brian. Sajid. Amar. Alright. So on the motion, this House, as head of the NGO, will disclose this information in the respect to relevant authorities. I'd like to call the Prime Minister to defend the motion that stands in his or her name. Period.
Okay. Good morning.
Have my baby yard.
I can't hear you.
You're making yarn wait. Hi guys, just a reminder, the room is quite echoey, so please try to make as much minimal noise as possible while the speakers are speaking. If any of your phones are not on silent mode, turn them on silent mode now. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the news at 5:45. Okay, in this debate, I want to make clear that one assumption I think is clear in the motion is that this crackdown by the government authorities will be significant and it will work, at least in this instance. We don't claim to repair all instances of corruption in these probably quite problematic and admired countries, but this one at least, this guy will go down if you report it. I think it's also safe to assume that that implies that you are reasonably free in the instance that a crackdown does happen from reprisal from his cronies, that witness protection will be reasonable to the extent you do not absolutely fear for your life in the instance where you do docket him. I think that is a reasonable assumption if you contest it if you want. Okay, I'll walk you through a few scenarios in my speech, so just kind of have to go with the flow. But first, I think an important scenario that you need to consider is the risk of discovery by other people, regardless of whether you reveal this to authorities. Why is this? Well, the first thing you can reasonably believe about this corrupt dude is that he's very rich. And he's probably very corrupt in many other instances other than your NGO. Why do we think we can know this? Well, he's rich enough to fund a successful NGO single-handedly. And it is unlikely that a successful and corrupt mafia type or connected politician type puts all his eggs in one basket with regards to their money laundering operations. So probably he has a network of other sources in which he is also corrupt, a network of corrupt criminal or corrupt operations elsewhere. The point here is that he is probably quite well connected and his criminal empire, you're only a small part of his criminal empire. What does this mean? It means that any of those other sources are points of failure for his security. And now by extension, your security. Because if you think about it, as soon as this guy goes down, and as soon as the news breaks, if it breaks, then the investigation will continue into all the branches of his core empire, which means you are implicated. More on that later. Why else do we think the risk of discovery is significant? The second thing is that you have been made note of this. Now, it is probably unlikely that this corrupt dude called you up and was like, just by the way, I am a mafia boss. Which means someone in his organization is leaking stuff. If there's one informant that says something about the security level in his organization, which says something about the risk of potential discovery by other people who have been informed down the line. Note that this is true because his empire is so vast, we think the more possible points of failure exist. Again, something we want to consider in terms of risk. Finally, we think there's a strong trend of anti-corruption in the vast majority of the developing world where you and your NGO are likely to operate. That is not to say that these anti-corruption initiatives are, even benign in nature or intention. Often they're quite politically motivated and designed to drag people down for that reason. that your benefactor could go down in one of these anti-corruption investigations because you don't know on which side of the politics of that country he is. So my point is, there are at least several reasons to think that he could be discovered regardless of whether you got to him or not. Now what happens if he is discovered without you revealing that information? The first thing to say is that obviously your NGO goes down in flames as well. Because you're a corrupt NGO, no one wants to work with a corrupt NGO. Secondly, it's enormous reputational damage that accrues to you. Because either people know that you knew the information and didn't pass it on, in which case you actually face a charge of criminal conspiracy or obstruction of justice and could potentially go to jail. Even if you don't, you certainly look like a real bad guy in the eyes of the public. But even if that's not true and that's never discovered, you look like a real fool. That your only donor was a corrupt asshole right under your nose and you did nothing about it and knew nothing about it. The point is that the media is likely to blow this up and you're not likely to look good at the end of all of that. Finally, of course, it means that the image of your NGO and the cause it stands for is tarnished in the eyes of the public. Because recency bias means that the entire NGO, the entire cause likely to be tarnished by these causes are fronts for corrupt organizations who do this, no thank you, to launder your money. You should not donate to anti-malaria nets because they're just fronts for corrupt warlords who actually kill children elsewhere. That is immensely damaging not just to you, but probably your entire organization and the causes you stand for. Why is it not true if you report him in? Why doesn't that media narrative come up for you? Well, firstly, you can own that media narrative. You come up as a good guy and you can be the protagonist of that story. Secondly, just mechanistically speaking, often you'll be the one, no thank you, to set up the interview with sympathetic journalists who are likely to take your side of the story and make you the protagonist. Because they want a scoop, right? This is going to be big news if they're the first one to break that. So they're likely to portray you in a sympathetic light. That means that even in the instance where your NGO fails, and we accept this is the best case scenario, the increased personal public profile you have now as a result of appearing as hero in this particular drama means that you might be able to attract other sources of funding that you weren't able to do so in the status quo with this particular donor, because you're now far more prominent than you were before as an individual. Yes.
If you have shown yourself to be criminally negligent by not finding out about this, why would anyone want to collaborate with you in the future on the charity?
Well, I think it's unclear that you will be accused of criminal negligence. And I'll leave subsequent speakers to deal with that. And especially if you can demonstrate that it's less way of you knowing that knowledge prior to beforehand, and can demonstrate this in the eyes of the media, which will, in effect, prejudge you for criminal authorities if you. Additionally, I would say if you're the ones reporting it to the authorities, they probably cut some deal with you that means that you're not charged with criminal negligence. Okay. Even if you discount all of this risk, why do you think it is still correct for you to report this guy? So what I'm saying now is that I think the risk is significant. It might not even be over 50%, maybe it's like 10%. But the risk is so damaging, you should care deeply about it. But even if you don't think the risk is, if you think the risk is negligent, you should document it. Why is that? We think the corruption that's likely, that harm that is likely to result from the corruption that this guy does, means that you, as his main, or one of his main money laundering sources, and with the opportunity to bring him down, are enabling his continued corruption. But what does this mean? Well, if the corruption is wide-ranging, he's stealing from many people, it is likely to fund criminal and downright evil behavior. And it is hugely likely that a harm done by this corruption is worse than the good that one of your NGOs that your NGO can do on its own. Why is that? Because his corrupt network is just bigger in size than your NGO, which means that by not dumping him in, you're allowing the continued existence of this corrupt harm to carry on. Now, they might say, or more intuitions say, well, sometimes it might not be okay to hurt one to save one person, but it's okay to hurt one to save many people. I would say that just because, even if you accept that second premise, the point is that accepting a second premise doesn't mean you should abandon altogether the moral intuition that sometimes it's not okay to hurt one person to save some indeterminate number of people. Different people will have different points at which they think that's acceptable. You should continue first in the instances where you're unsure to err on the side of caution and not to pursue harm.
And now call the major opposition to present the clash of opposition.
happily, you could have gone private, you could have made a ton of money for yourself, you could have advanced your personal interests economically in some manner or another. The fact that you didn't do that means that you are probably committed to a certain extent, or to a quite large extent, to the cause that your NGO is promoting. Maybe you have some personal attachment to your NGO, or maybe you just believe that you have some obligation to societal good and your NGO and the cause your NGO is helping is the best way to do it. Either way, you have to believe your charity is doing valuable work and that removing your charitable work would be a net harm to society. So, your calculus isn't just about whether or not you can be found out, but whether or not the potential minimal gain of reporting corruption, especially when proposition explicitly states you will not crack down on corruption overall, it would just be maybe this one minor instance, the potential gain of this actually outweighs the certain loss and removal of your charity from society. Before I begin my case proper, I want to do a few points of clarifications and rebuttals. The first is that this info slide specifically says you are using your money laundering scheme for corruption. So this is more likely than not a case where this person is money laundering for personal gain as opposed to money laundering to fund a terrorist organization that wants puppies or something. The second thing I want to point out is that if this Purse Mafia boss's empire is fairly large and you are only one of many money laundering schemes, then actually it becomes a lot easier for you to try and claim innocence even if you don't report it. Because if your NGO is just one tiny piece of the entire puzzle, then, well, there are other fish to fry when they eventually do try and crack down on corruption, if they do, and it's much easier for you to try and evade complicity or try and plead your innocence. Third of all, it's not entirely clear to me that there are actually that many weak points. Note that this person is essentially single-handedly funding an entire philanthropic organization. Probably something has gone fairly well for him to amass that amount of money. I just don't think they can claim that it's entirely plausible that some kind of security leak is going to tag this mafia boss anytime soon. Last of all, even if none of this is true, okay? Even if none of this is true, you reporting as one small fry against a big, large mafia boss means you are unlikely to be able to control the media narrative as it occurs, because your resources are just so comparatively limited compared to the resources that a mafia boss has there. So you just look like you are trying to cover up, even if you are actually just trying to be pure and whistleblow, especially if your donor is as rich and powerful as we all believe he is. So Okay, so there are obviously a few sets of governments we're talking about here. If we're talking about states in which corruption is quite endemic already, I don't think that government risks massive reputational harm simply because it's so widespread and common. So they might try and prosecute one case, there is no guarantee they will be successful. If we're talking about a strong developed state, again, even these states are subject to regulatory capture. While there might be some outcry if they don't manage to fully prosecute this guy, you also do have to create this against the tangible harms to the beneficiaries on the ground. You can't just automatically assume that the government, because it wants to do something, will be able to successfully do something. The last thing I want to talk to you about is why this benefit on the ground can't be successfully replaced. You can't raise up the charity because you are now tainted reputationally, you probably lose institutional capacity, you probably lose your ability to solve donations, you are either now perceived as criminal or criminally incompetent, you will reduce trust in charities across the board as well, because once you focus the problems on one set of charities, it makes it much more difficult for other charities to get donations as well. Very, very proud to oppose.
naive to suggest that cracking down on corruption is futile. Because it's not. Because cracking down on corruption in a systemically corrupt system happens through these opportunities that arise once.
The magic of 1 plus codes. Physical alerts sliders.
I think it's naive to suggest that crackdown on corruption is futile, because in systems where it's systemic, we think we need to utilize the opportunities that arise only once every few years. That you can crack down on such a big dude who's possibly corrupt in many of his areas and has many such organizations. We think that if you let go of these opportunities, you never actually reduce corruption, but the hydras that ending talks about look at the government as something that does not crack down on anything. Look at the authorities as nobody acting on it and possibly just leading to more of such things. We think when such opportunities arise, authorities in media often do come together to crack down on this and often have huge public support when they realize this is a big thing that's happening. We think a systemically corrupt system needs to be taken down, and opportunities like this should not be squandered. I'm going to talk about just one big thing in this debate, one big chunk. That is the discovery, and the likelihood of this being discovered by the public is high. Or not even if it's not high, I tell you that the likelihood of discovery is reason enough for you to go to the authorities and the risk of that. Sit down. But before that, let's talk about a few explicit things in terms of rebuttal likelihood. Firstly, they tell us that you'll be seen as criminally negligent in the POI that Ashish asked, right? I think the reason that he gives is a lot of things will come out and you'll be seen as somebody who is assisting and abetting that crime. I think a lot of other things would come out, but you will be seen as a person who decided to take the first step to call out this guy and go to the media in the first place. That means that I think that spin provides a positive aspect to your image as a guy who's advocating for public good, be it through the charity or through the calling out of this corrupt dude within itself. And this happens because you control the media narrative and it comes as great personal cost to you because you lose your organization in the process, so that image transformation is possibly very massive for you and your cause in its first place. The second thing they tell us is, but it won't affect you as much because crackdown happens everywhere. I don't think that's true. It does affect you disproportionately more than any other dude who calls this guy out, because you are the one that is explicitly calling out for public good through the use of your charity. That means that you obviously do good things about the community, and at the point of time you are seen as a person who is negligent about it by not coming out. Prior to discovery, you are seen in a much more bad light as compared to any other points in the network of this corrupt dude. We think that you are affected disproportionately. The last thing they tell us, but corruption is okay as long as it provides some good to other people, because money routes from some people to some other people when it's laundered through public channels. I don't think that's the case, because principally you're still stealing from some people. For example, I would posit to you, Mr. Speaker, that at the point of time I tell you that there's a poor dude dying, would you take from some poor dude who's marginally better off and give it to them? You'd possibly say no, because at that point of time it's principally not the correct thing to do, to take from somebody else and just give it to another person. I think you would agree with that statement. Secondly, there's a cost to all these economic transactions because this dude basically takes a cut from each one of them when they route to another person. We think at the point of time you can eliminate the middleman in this, we think it's a better outcome. Thirdly, I agree they might not be funding terrorist organizations at this point, but one criminal dude who sees another profiteering opportunity to have provide arms or buy arms or deal in arms, etc., would often do that in the first place because it's a very profitable thing to do for them. A person who's already done criminal activities and thinks that he can avoid the authorities would possibly do other things that he thinks might be profitable while avoiding the authorities. The last thing is that his network is so huge that your NGO is a part of it. At that point of time, you're basically not calling him out, you're basically abetting each and every other thing that this guy does in a corrupt manner. That often all other parts of his network are dependent on you not leaking out that information as well. So I think it's ethically your obligation at the point of time you publicly advocate for good to ethically reveal that information to the authorities so that at least some form of this organization, some form of this network is broken down. Let's talk about discovery, but before that, any advice?
You say that we need to take every rare opportunity to crack out the corruption, and then you say, but this network is so huge, there are loads of discovery points, why would you have been the one who calls it out?
Because at the point of time it's discovered by somebody else, you are seen in a much more bad light, firstly, because you advocate explicitly for public good. I think at the point of time when you have the information, ethically it's your responsibility to do good for the community, because that's what you've advocated for all through. That's what anything tells you, right? That you care for your cause, that you care for your community, that you're an intelligent person who gave them private jobs and loads of money to care about the public. If that's your cause, do it. Discovery and likely to be discovered, and the damning effects of being discovered, right? We told you many things to which we heard no response. First, this is a corrupt dude, must have many fronts, and a breach at any of those fronts necessarily leads back to you and your organization. That means that you are outed as part of the criminal empire. Second, you have heard it from a source, obviously. That necessarily means that the information is not secure anymore. That means that the leak is likely to come out in the short to medium term, given that the information is not secure and has come out to you. Third, corruption scandals often have wide networks and are often heavily dependent on key stakeholders in between to not reveal that information. We see that in each and every scandal that comes out, nobody's at top is revealing information, but one key guy is cracked down upon and they reveal all of these things in the first place. We think the breach of any of these middle links means that the organization will be outed. What are the effects of these outside discovery? First, actually, what are the effects if you don't reveal this information, right? But the guy gets to know that you know that he is corrupt. This is basically the worst case scenario in this, right? That in the instance that he knows that you know, every day that you don't out the guy, you come under more and more pressure to work with and assist him in these activities of money laundering and basically corrupt things, right? We think that instead of being at risk for this, we posit that going to the authorities is a much better outcome than furthering corruption in these activities in the first place. But what are the effects of discovery, right? First, the narrative in the media becomes that your NGO is a part of the corruption scandal. The large amounts of airtime and national attention are drawn to it. The narrative literally becomes malaria-net organization, for example, is a front for money laundering. Why is it particularly bad? First, your organization shuts down. But more importantly, Secondly, your personal reputation as a bastion of good deeds is completely tarnished. And third, furthermore, the ideas and the philosophies you stand for become tainted by this narrative, where your causes lose out massively. So even if you don't care about yourself and you care about your causes as anything positive to you, you massively hurt them in this process. The key thing to note here is that none of this is under your control, in this instance under their side, where you are ambushed as a part of this crackdown. The alternative on our side is important. Under our side, when you go to the authorities, you are under control of the narrative. Because firstly, the media narrative, instead of the one that I told you earlier, becomes the leader of Malaria Net organization outs corrupt businessman or outs corrupt mafia boss. This means that you can dictate the pace of the reveal through like dictated interviews, you can set up interviews and therefore you retain your personal image. But secondly, your cause stands against the test of this ordeal and continues as vocal or even better with the media attention, with or without you. Even though you might not continue, your cause continues because it's never tainted by this lie. Very proud to propose.
Yeah.
Talk about two things. First, this whole discovery issue, you controlling the narrative, to use their words. Secondly, if corruption is endemic, does this make a difference? Answer is no, just to highlight what we'll say later, because if you don't reveal it, as they themselves point out, someone else is probably going to reveal it, but the effect of the reveal will be corruption does not decrease across the board. So, firstly, therefore, what happens if you actually are the one to report this? Note that a huge amount of the case is premised on you getting a bit of positive media spin and you being able to control the media narrative if you admit that this was happening with your charity. Many reasons why you won't have this control and why it's going to be horrible for you either way, right? The reason I'm making this argument is because I'm going to say that even if you are found out, at least there was a gap in time in between now and when you are found out by someone else, when at least your charity continues to do work and help people on the ground, which is what you are actually concerned about, right? So, what about also for media spin? Look, if you are a CEO or executive of a large charity, you're probably from the elite group in that country. You're probably from the majority race, you're probably born into privilege. You probably hang out for dinner receptions with politicians, with other corrupt individuals, with this mafia person. You are not a natural subject for sympathy in the national media. The headline is still going to be that your charity was a front for money laundering. Now, media organizations might or might not choose to emphasize the fact that you are the one who admitted it. But note that media organizations and journalists, A, might be suspicious of you for exactly the reasons they give us. That media organizations might say, what if this is an attempt to use the media organizations? What if he thinks he's going to be discovered anyway and wants a bit of a publicity boost? That's the first thing. But the second thing is, the media and journalists will do their own independent investigations of the history of your charity. Once you admit this, you become a magnet for attention. Presumably, if you have been a successful charity and simultaneously a front for this money laundering, this has been going on for some time, journalists are probably going to dig up dozens of other occasions and records and missed whistles where you should have found out, but you didn't find out, right? So even though you did the best you could the moment you found out and reported, that doesn't mean you weren't criminally negligent, because it could be that you missed the first signal, the second signal, or the third signal. All that means the media narrative against you is unlikely to be positive, not least because a negative narrative in a country plagued by corruption is a lot more politically popular, both for the politicians and for the media, than one in which you are a good guy who happens to be from the wealthy landed gentry elite type, right? The second problem here, right, is that governments are risk averse. So if you are found out once, and let's say you get through this prosecution like smelling like lemon-scented soap, right, it's gorgeous, the next time you apply to the relevant office in the government which approves charities, probably that person is not going to approve this given that you have been a money laundering front before. Because if you end up in a similar situation in the future, that's political suicide for a government which took a guy who was possibly corrupt, let him run another charity, and things went south. But the other problem is charities have loads of legal privileges. They are tax exempt, they can go into lots of places where other organizations are not allowed to go. Employees are given all kinds of privileges and pension schemes by the government. Governments have very high thresholds for your reliability and track record when it comes to people who want to set up charities, especially large successful charities like the one you're talking about. So for all these reasons, I don't think the key mechanism of you controlling the narrative is going to work much. So what might you do? What Ting said, what you care most in the world is about helping the people you care through malaria nets, through, I don't know, vaccines, whatever have you. You can still keep doing this right now. And you should still keep doing this right now because it makes no difference whether or not it's you, right? You won't get a chance to set up this charity for a second time. Secondly, therefore, is corruption endemic? So, no, obviously, huge tension in the case, right? Because the first major claim is, this is going to get found out. Like, you might as well out yourself now. But the second claim was, we need to take these rare golden opportunities to reveal that someone is actually corrupt, right? Those two things cannot be simultaneously true. What's likely is that this is going to be found out, but it won't have a difference. Why? Because corruption is endemic. Now, the mechanism here, right, is that if corruption becomes a big national issue, we crack down on one person, it solves corruption over the board. Just know, as a reality check, this does not work, right? Look at the number of populist politicians who style themselves as anti-corrupt and say many anti-corrupt things, but whose administrations are just as corrupt as those who preceded them. I'll take you in a moment now, but a very good example of this is Modi and Duterte, both of whom swept into power by being outside the political system and are going to crack down on corruption, and they use like pretty vitriolic rhetoric on it. Corruption still happens because in that political system, if you are not corrupt, you lose out relative to everyone else. The costs are internalized, the benefits are externalized. So even the best-hearted person who doesn't want to be corrupt is forced to be corrupt in those systems. Go for it.
To be clear, it's the stance of your side that in a country where corruption is endemic and you do not see a concerted effort to take care of all of it, that no one can deal with corruption.
No, our argument is that you, as one individual reporting one corrupt guy, when your priorities are not about cutting down corruption, does nothing to change the system. To be honest, I'm not actually totally sure how we cut down corruption. I think actually the best way is economic development. Because evidence shows actually is that like people's incomes rise over time, they're more concerned with these things, and actually they don't need to bribe people to be more offended by that. A charity might actually help out with economic development, come to think about it. I've never come across any corruption drive in human history which has worked. That's a really good thing. Yeah, because like China has done one, Vietnam has done one, but they're all fronts for like cracking down on political dissidents. So yeah, corruption just can't stop it. So why don't you try, right? Actually, our view. So that's the first thing, right? It's endemic and systematic and collective action problems. But also, it's about social culture and what charities need to operate, right? If the outcome of you reporting on corruption in charities is that the government in general cracks down on corruption in charities, that's actually highly problematic for charities operating in these sorts of environments. The reason is because often if you're operating in a developed country, you need to pay those bribes to get access to just poorer individuals. So actually it might be good not to talk too much about corruption in a charitable sector. But the third thing is, even if this powerful person gets prosecuted, do you know what happens? Exactly what happened to almost everyone Robert Mueller tried to put in jail, right? They say, I've got a lot more information about a lot more which is happening, and they argue for plea bargain views which actually give them very low punishments, which don't serve as meaningful deterrent to other individuals in the future. That's why Donald Trump, a criminal 20 times over, is president of the United States. That's why Duterte, whose kids run drug rings, and it's been reported, is still incredibly popular in the Philippines because they protect each other, and the criminal justice system, when it's captured by corruption, is basically impotent to stop it. Look, you're not going to solve corruption. Reporting this is only going to hurt you. You might as well try and save some lives with malaria nets in the meantime.
MDG for the win. Malaria nets.
Quietism, political philosophy for times.
Yes, quietism. Yeah, go Sharique.
Speaker, what Jan points out in his POI is actually very important. That side actually believes that if corruption is endemic in the society, like it's no use, it's no good anyone ever reporting or leading to a situation where some of the key players are at the forefront of that corruption and crack down upon it. But that is the incremental process by which ultimately corruption is reduced from all societies, right? That a society like Nigeria might one day turn into a society like India, which is significantly less corrupt, and one day that situation would improve and become like it is in like maybe Scandinavian countries, right? That is an incremental process, and maybe it is true that the cost that you are paying for that, or as like one small instance of the crackdown, is maybe very high for you, right? But imagine the fruits at the end of this process, where the society is corruption-free, and I think if you take that goal in mind, then you would realize that the cost you paid in terms of your NGO shutting down was very worthwhile and very worth you doing. Okay, what I want to do in this speech is a few things. First of all, I want to deal with some of this characterization of this person and how the media is going to receive you, how you're going to be portrayed in society once this thing is let out. Secondly, I want to talk about some of the harms of outside discovery, which we think would inevitably happen because this is such a vast network, and those guys haven't actually refuted or actually made an attempt to say that the system is well shielded. And finally, I want to talk about how cracking down on corruption can actually yield better results, right? So first of all, they pointed out this contradiction. They said that it's a big network. We said that there are weak links. So why do you have to be the person who does it, right? Two reasons. One, Jan in his speech said that there's still maybe a 10% chance of this thing being discovered. That is a significant risk for us because the harms are very high, but you can't be 100% sure that this system is going to be discovered, right? Yeah. So if you let go of this opportunity, maybe that system is never caught. And that is significant harm because all of the harms of tax corruption continue to be incurred on those people. But secondly, if someone else points that out, you lose all of the benefits of you being able to posture yourself as a hero of this movement, right? Wherein you are the person who reported this bad apple to the government, right? Okay, the second bit that I want to do is tackle some of the characterizations of this individual, which are important for the characterizations that the media will make of this person, right? So what they said is that you are a very successful person, you're probably from the privileged majority, people hate you for that, right? That is nonsense. There are a lot of, in developing countries, there are a lot of people who come from privileged backgrounds that people, for some reason, because of their charisma, because of the stuff that they've done in society, that people and the media actually consider as their darling, right? And here's the important bit of information that we actually know, apart from all this speculation. This guy is the head of an actual NGO that is successful. He has helped hundreds of thousands of people, and all of those people root for him, and probably what we've heard in media is good things of what his NGO does. Really all of that indicates that actually media is going to be more sympathetic to this person, right? So all of these allegations of criminal negligence, etc., are unlikely to come forward because media is actually going to treat the guy who is the corrupt individual, the money launderer, as the enemy, right? The way that these news actually develops is not that the media is like, this guy is the main enemy, and this guy reported it, let's also as a side measure also investigate this person and try to find some problems with this individual, right? The more normal scenario, the more expected way in which this story would develop is this guy is the enemy, this guy has been hurting the people, this guy is the hero, and by casting that guy as the hero, you kind of exacerbate the badness of that individual because that guy was trying to take advantage of him. That's a more realistic scenario of how this media story is likely to develop. We think this guy is going to be a media darling. He's going to be able to gain, to posture himself as a hero in the future and gain concessions for his organization. Okay, before I move on,
And what happens when a journalist unearths lots of financial records which show that you should have been suspicious a lot earlier? Are you still a media darling?
Yes, because first of all, there is no incentive on their part to do that, to kind of speculate based on uncertain financial records, right? Because we know for a fact that this was the first instance, that you absolutely for certain knew that this was the case, right? So any financial records that they're talking about is stuff that's saying that you should have been incredibly smart and that you should have had the foresight to see that this was the case. But that only happens if the media has a predisposition to cast you as that individual, to cast you as the enemy, which I've just proven is not the case. It's actually quite the opposite. So let's talk about the consequences of outside discovery, which they haven't actually dealt with, Mr. Speaker, because the benefit on that side is from today till the period where you are eventually caught, some people benefit on that side, right? But what happens when inevitably you are caught at that point? First of all, you lose the NGO, and without any prospect of being a leader of any NGO in the future. That means that people indefinitely in the future lose as a consequence of that. Secondly, your reputation, obviously personal reputation takes a hit. But thirdly, Mr. Speaker, we think people lose faith in these systems in these countries, which is a very bad scenario, because they believe that all NGOs are like kind of like these NGO heads try to cast themselves as good people, and we believe them to be good people, but now they turn out to be in bed with the bad people, right? So the narrative is not going to be, oh, like this NGO head, like people are going to say, oh, like this guy is a small fish, like hundreds of people were under the spell of this guy, and therefore we are not going to put a lot of blame on it. I think the more likely claim is that, dude, these guys, like we thought they were good. They were supposed to be the and all of them are like in bed with each other. We shouldn't trust all of them. That makes it incredibly harder for children who are dying of malaria in these societies to have anyone else who would speak for them and be able to provide those malaria nets, right? So I think the harm, let's sit down, I don't think anymore. So harms are quite significant, right? Let's talk about corruption now. Like they say that the harms of corruption in the instance that you track down are not significant. The first thing, Mr. Speaker, is that like consider two possibilities. A society that's completely broken down. So this is going to lead to one instance of corruption, but it's not going to lead to a massive, like, large-scale thing, right? We think still these kinds of situations add up, as I said in the preamble of my speech, and ultimately this is the first step necessary to have a corruption-free society. And the second scenario, obviously, is one which Ashish was pointing out, where like maybe this person will be prosecuted, where maybe this person will be offered a plea deal. But what is a plea deal? A plea deal is where you reveal some information about your network, like you implicate some of the people who are part of that network, right? You bring all of that, the people who are dependent on that network down. And it's not like all of these are many ways in which the crackdown upon this one corrupt individual affects in a widespread manner all of the people who were participants in that corruption, right? It takes a year, it takes a life of being in corrupt societies, being in bed with the mafia and all of that to be in that place where you are that important individual, right? It's not going to be the case that as soon as you're replaced, someone else is going to take your place. We don't think that's as easy. What's more likely going to happen is that all of the people who are like with you and who are supportive of you and the political parties who supported you, all of them are going to be under the cast of a big doubt that these are not the people who are representative of us. For these reasons, we think it is very worthwhile to make this move, both on practical and principle terms. Very proud.
Yeah.
Let's quickly go to the sponsorship case and deal with their fundamental assumptions. So what we effectively hear about someone case is, firstly, let's assume you are likely to be discovered if you don't. So we're working on the assumption that you will be discovered should you not turn yourself in. And then if you turn yourself in, at least if you turn yourself in, you'll look relatively innocent and you can continue, you can either save your own hide if that's your self-interest, or continue your NGO work, so in the end your NGO work is not harmed, you get to save more lives in the process. And even if in that scenario that you get caught and thrown in jail and you can no longer convert NGO work, at least you contributed to the anti-corruption measures, which you have some sort of moral obligation that Virat has to serve. Right? So these seem to be the big assumptions. So let's break it down, right? Firstly, will you be discovered? Because this is the entire premise of that case. So the only reason why you turn yourself in the first place is because you will be discovered. In any other scenario, which you should not do it at this moment, that in some time in the future, you will get discovered. That's still the first question. We think it's not entirely clear why they've proven why you will have to be discovered. Why? Because necessarily in many of these cases, when we talk about an NGO that's been successful, it takes many years for an NGO to become successful, to build up their networks, to build up the trust within local communities, to be able to do things like that, and then be able to be successful in their work. We think in many of these cases, therefore, what you often have done is that you have that in this scenario, we're not entirely sure how structurally weak the entire process is, especially when they keep saying that this individual is so powerful, so scary, right? And therefore, that's why it's imperative that we take this particular mafia boss down. We think in many of these cases, the structural weakness that they talk about, the leaks, are far less likely in many of these cases because whistleblowers often are unwilling to come forward. So we don't think that's as structurally weak as they claim it is. Furthermore, in many of these cases, if he or she is that powerful, then we think if they find out, as they claim the mafia boss might find out, then they might be more likely to give you cover. So actually, you being knowledgeable about the corruption might actually work in your favor because you might get more donations, they might for instance, help you in terms of your cause as well. We don't think it's inherently a bad thing. But it's always not entirely clear, they haven't necessarily proven why it's inevitable that you should make that gamble itself. On the other hand, we do know that it's inevitable that you will outing yourself the moment you do out yourself, right? So we do think that there's a possibility that you may get found out, and that's enough if we keep quiet. Whereas there's obviously a certainty that you will get found out. So let's work with the certainty if you get found out. What is the likely outcome? Because their argument, this is the second assumption they make, is that if you get found, if you out yourself at least, you take that step, you surrender yourself to the police, or go out to the media, the alternative frame they want to say, that somehow you'll be okay. That you'll be able to rehabilitate your image as well as your NGO's image, right? By controlling the media narrative, by being able to proclaim your innocence, and somehow that will work magically, right? Firstly, it is not clear that this will happen. I mean, given your systematic analysis down the line, I'll go further this, right? As a head of an NGO, presumably for a very long period of time, most of the time heads of NGOs aren't necessarily auto parachuted in, they work up into a position of leadership. You think in that particular scenario, you're working closely with a single donor. So firstly, you have a very close relationship with that donor, because there's no way your NGO can continue to function so successfully if you don't have a continued relationship with that donor. So heads of NGOs often wine and dine their donors, often engage in a close relationship with their donors. In some cases, they move within these social circles. It's an access commodity never dealt with by Sharique. In that scenario, you are going to be seen as complicit in some way. Why? Because firstly, you have that close relationship. You are implicated by the proximity of that relationship. But more than that, we also have a tendency in corruption cases where we are going to assume that someone is guilty before proven innocent. In many cases, how the court of public opinion works in a meeting. In that scenario, then, you don't come up unscathed under that paradigm as much as they want to claim. Despite the fact you're going and saying, I am innocent. The only reason why you're coming in and saying, I'm innocent is precisely the concern that they talk about, that you're afraid of being caught in the first place. And so what it is you trying to take a gamble. If you don't get caught, or if you didn't get caught, at least you can control the media narrative. That is exactly the premise that they are running on. That is what people are going to assume. All you want to do is control the media narrative, pull the wool over their eyes, and maybe they'll believe you're innocent. But they're likely to, right? And this is what happens, right? When you can't control the media narrative, right? Because journalists want to scoop, right? It's really going to be a lot of fun, for instance, if for instance, the South China Morning Post is able to say, oh yeah, this guy came forward as a whistleblower, but let's dig into his background. Because look, the story's not very fun if you're like, there's a whistleblower, oh, this is an interesting story. But we're able to find that the whistleblower himself was corrupt or suggests that he or she were complicit in that corruption. It's a lot more interesting story. And so they engage investigative journalism in order to find this point. It was not clear how you control the media narrative as much as Jan asserts that you were able to. Yes, sure.
Yeah. In the immediate aftermath of this whistleblowing, the media has an enemy that the public hates for being a bad actor, right? What is the incentive for the media to instead now to try to turn that anger against someone that the public considers
It's not clear that it's mutually exclusive, right? Like, look, you can also be angry against the NGO, and in fact, it makes a really nice image because the NGO was supposed to be there to help poor people, whereas the other guy was just a rich man who was a donor. Like, sure, rich men always get the flag, but it's a lot juicier story when a person who claimed he cared about poor children was actually taking the money from poor children and the less they needed in order to help corruption, right? So we think they're not mutually exclusive stories. We think, in fact, our story or the case of us getting into trouble is perhaps the juicier story. Furthermore, we think that in many cases, you are going to be seen in two possible lines. One, in the best case scenario, you're just going to be seen as completely incompetent. That means even if you are not thrown into jail, you're never going to be able to run your NGO again. Or you're going to be complicit. Both scenarios are bad for you. Why is this bad? Because this deals with the argument that we have about corruption. The argument is nonetheless, at least you've dealt with corruption. But at what cost is our corruption, right? What that happens is you shut down a successful NGO, a person who is able to run an NGO and often in an environment where this sort of expertise is severely lacking. So you lose the networks and the trust that have been built up over the many years that you've been functioning as an NGO. What's it costing us now? Have you solved corruption? Because what their claim is at least you solved corruption. We keep telling you down the line, the corruption is endemic. We don't think they're going to solve it in this one particular case. Often, in fact, you make it worse precisely because Virat says, at least you've got publicity coup that you come in and crack down on this particular individual. Because the publicity coup means you release some of the political pressure to deal with corruption, right? That's what happens in places like China, that's what's happened in Vietnam, that's what's happened in the Philippines, right? You're able to say, we picked this one character, and look, he's a really nice villain because look, he runs an NGO. And so we win at the end of the day. We don't think that releases or changes corruption. What does change corruption? Corruption is change when we change cultures, when we may educate people about how and help build up things like infrastructure, right? But people no longer need to rely upon failings in structural systems, and that's how our NGO functions. We think it's much better to keep it alive than to do something that we know is going to shut down our good work.
I want to point out something kind of cool about the wording of this motion, and it's that it's worded as an active debate in that you are the head of an NGO. So you can't just come up here and assert that every single individual in society has some kind of like intangible, unexplainable urge to crack down on corruption and immorality wherever they find it, because gosh darn it, that is the right thing to do. At the very least, we are making one step, even if it takes 100 years to remove corruption from our society. I feel the glowing satisfaction of a job well done because I did the right thing. That's not how it works. We told you that you are the head of an NGO. Your interest is to your cause first and larger anti-corruption movements, not even second, but probably somewhere down at the bottom of your list, given that the corruption is the very thing that is funding the cause that you so deeply care about. That's a piece of characterization they've never contested, other than saying, oh, it's so abhorrent to say that because it's endemic, you shouldn't do anything about it. No, we're being quite realistic. If you as an individual know that you cannot possibly hope to fight the corruption in the system as one person, and you know that everybody else is going to benefit from the corruption, except for you if you don't do it, and you know very well that if you don't use the money for your charity to help kick puppies, that money is going to go into something else which you care less about or you think is actively harmful, then yes, your interest is to take this corrupt money instead of fighting the corruption. This is important. Why? Because we told you that it's a corruption is unlikely to be gotten rid of. And that best case scenario, if corruption is endemic, which they haven't really contested, is that the person you're trying to crack down on gets a very, very symbolic light slap on the wrist. And it is your NGO. Like literally, why would you care if this one person that was funding your NGO gets a light slap on your wrist? Or it means that you are never going to be trusted again and your NGO shuts down. Now, the second thing they tried to premise their case on was this idea that it's inevitable you're going to be discovered. A couple of things that we said about this. First of all, if it is inevitable that you're going to be discovered, then you just get seen as opportunistic because you are turning yourself in just to cut a deal or just to game the system. The very things they said, right? That if you turn yourself in, you can cut a deal, you can control the narrative, you can game the system. People are smart, guys. They will realize that you're probably doing this because you have some kind of incentive like this in mind, right? This taints your ability to capture the media as neatly as you seem to think you will. The second thing is that media likes scoops. They aren't just going to stop at, oh, there was a whistleblower. They're going to dig into financial records. They'll say, why didn't you catch this blip earlier? They'll say, how long were you in bed and covering up? They'll say, did the mafia threaten to shoot you? Is that why you're finally turning to the authorities? All of these things are reasons why you are not going to be trusted in the future. Second of all, I do want to point out that even if you're a media darling, right? Best case scenario, media loves you. You're not going to be able to work for any of these causes that you care about in the future. You're not going to be given control of a charity because you have suspicion and lack of trust from people who will donate to you. Because, right, if the person that wants to donate to you is corrupt, they won't trust you because they think you will whistleblow them in. And if the person that you want to donate to you isn't corrupt, they won't trust you because they think that you've been hiding the criminal activities of someone else. Either way, you're fucked. What donor is going to want to give you the money in the future? Second of all, you're not going to get a charity because instead of a charity, as Shih and Becca both pointed out, it's an incredibly high threshold because it's tax exempt. So I don't think the government is going to trust you enough to let you work in the field you care most about, even if the media, for some inexplicable reason, loves you. On our side, even if discovery is inevitable, there's a time lag. At the very least, we definitively and certainly allow this money to go to the people hole on the ground that we care about the most. Even if it's just a month, even if it's just 2 months, that's 2 months where starving infants get water, rather than 2 months where bureaucracy is tied up in red tape and ineffective corruption crackdowns, incredibly proud to oppose.
Can't save the world, so you might as well not try it.
Yes.
Quietism, it's very popular now. Even Game of Thrones promotes this project. So my question is, then why NGO in the first place, man? If you can't save the world, maybe you shouldn't try. You wouldn't even convince you, this NGO person, who devoted an entire life to doing something you know does not save the world, or only saves people one at a time. Look, just because this debate is from a perspective of an actor, does not mean that ethics go out the window. If I were to ask you, not even like the highly moral humanitarian person that an NGO head is likely to be, whether you have a duty as a person to report deep-seated corruption, if you know that that is what funds your business or you personally, I would say that you would at least take pause and be like, well, maybe I should consider being a moral person and not just think about narrow self-interest. So that's not a way you can explain away your interest in this. The first thing I want to point out is that just because corruption is endemic does not mean you can do nothing to damage it. Because you care about the good you do as an NGO, but you're not delusional. And you must know that the good you do as an NGO is very small compared to the size of the damage done by a corrupt enterprise, a criminal network, and so on and so forth. The sort of theft, criminality, and the extent of that has not really been disputed by the opposition throughout this debate. What they've said is, because it is so endemic, there is no solution to the big problem. And the assumption that they made is kind of clouded in this, like, if you kind of one hit of Hydra, 3 will spring up in its place. One, it's actually quite unclear why you should take that at face value. You kind of think, one corrupt organization goes away, means 2 will come up. Like, at best, it's a one-to-one replacement, but just as you get to save some, like 2 months worth of people with their malaria nets, the corrupt organization has to rebuild itself on the ashes of 2 months, which means that on the margins, that corruption is reduced. And because the size of that corrupt network is bigger than the size of your NGO, that means that on the ground, individuals are benefiting. So, just as a moral person who is not a quietist, you should, even if there is no risk of discovery, even if this means the closure of your NGO, do this action. Because you can actually do something good. Then you say, then we talk about the media story. And they say, well, there's no way that you will be in a good light. But a few things to note here. One, it's not clear that you are criminally negligent. These are like the media will pour over your records, the police will pour over your records. But is there anything in the motion that says your records show criminally negligent? Actually, no, right? You just happen to take money from a corrupt dude. 2, they dispute whether you are well-liked. I mean, it's possible that you are a member of the landed gentry. But also, you are a humanitarian dude, which means that you are less likely to be hated than other members of the landed gentry. You're unlikely to be seen as some do like baddies, some people. Look, it's possible that the media has some nasty media narrative will be built around you, but at the very least, you can get to pick your sources. You can pick journalists in your mouthpiece. And if you just think about it, their picture of how whistleblowers are treated by the media is wildly out of step with the reality of how every whistleblower has been treated by the media, which is generally as a good truth. So I don't think you should believe this notion that the media outs you as a villain, because they've already got one, as Sharique points out in this view. But let me just point out that their attempt to deny the risk of this is kind of strange, because it's like certainty versus possibility, so you should back certainty. But if you think there is a reasonable risk of you being found out, all those harms that you get with the media narrative also equally happen. Plus, they're worse, because you tried to hide it. You didn't come out when you could. So you look worse in that case. And then the question is that risk real, or is it just completely negligible? I think the defense is kind of like, well, you just don't know if it'll happen. These criminal guys have been successful for a really long time, so maybe his empire has no chance of being discovered. For one, it's really been leaked once. And two, the fact that he has a successful empire doesn't mean that it also means that it's now susceptible to failure at more points. So you should at least be concerned about that. Look, at best, these guys, and they admit it almost, only forestall the potential outcome of all of the harms that these guys spend a lot of time doing. As long as you think that a risk is present, and even if you don't, you should bounce back.